So I asked for questions, and boy, did you give them to me. So many that they won't all fit into one video. So here's part 1 of 2. So I've got to say, I am blown away. I started this channel basically as a way for me to tell my stories without driving my kids and wife nuts, telling them all the time. I am absolutely shocked and blessed by how many of you guys are tuning in, watching. Thank you so much for that. I was getting questions too from some of you here and there. And so I put out the offer to throw your questions at me and let's go from there. And I got a lot more than what I was expecting. I was figuring I might get like 10, a dozen. I stopped counting at 35. Even after I said, okay, I've got enough, there's still more questions coming in. So I'm going to handle as many of them on this video as I can. But there's going to be a part 2, so keep your eyes open for that. All that said, let's dig into what you want to know. Shanice Tinkerbell writes, I was wondering if you had worked with Tinkerbell in the Disney parks. She is my favorite fairy, and I was hoping you might have some fun stories. Well, Shanice, I've got some sort of bad news for you. By the time they had finally created a nice place for Tinkerbell to meet guests, I had actually sort of moved and was pretty much statused over at Epcot almost all the time. That was my main place, and then I would pick up some occasional shifts here and there. And because Tinkerbell was a very popular place to work, it was very hard for me to get any shifts over there. I actually only got to work in the fairy room twice, and both of those times, I didn't even really get a chance to work with Tinkerbell. I got to work with the Yellow Fairy and the Guy Fairy. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting their names. The main fairy I really got to work with, though, that was a lot of fun, was Vidya. Vidya's got that nice little obnoxious streak that I kind of sympathize with. And so I had a lot of fun with her. That is, when she wasn't blowing me over with all her gusts of wind and picking on me. And of course, that was kind of fun. I didn't get to work with Tinkerbell very much, though. I did visit a couple times. There are some pictures out there of my nieces visiting Tinkerbell and my kids and I visiting, but I didn't get to work with her that much. So no good stories there. Sorry. MPJ Vending writes, did you ever do anything to get you in trouble at any of the parks? I'm a good kid. I would never, well, okay, just once or twice. No, seriously. I really didn't get in trouble. At Silver Dollar City, I had one time I got yelled at because somebody threw some paper money off the train as they were leaving. And I think it was a $5 bill. And I made the mistake of starting to run after it while the train was still going. Scared my boss to death. Didn't get in trouble, just got yelled at because he thought I was going to fall. Otherwise, the only time I really got in trouble, I've actually talked about it in a couple of my videos. And that was at Busch Gardens when I was driving the Rhino Rally Land Rover. I had one time as I come up off the bridge over by the elephants and hit a rock, which that was a minor thing. But then if you look at the Prep and Wreck video, it'll talk about the big incident I had that if my manager hadn't been in a good mood and missed a couple things, they could have fired me over, which I'm absolutely convinced it wasn't my fault anyways. So I would have been really upset if they fired me because I didn't think I deserved it. As it was, they did some retraining, but catch it on that video. It goes into a lot more detail because it's a long story. So I don't want you to miss that. Other than those two things, though, no, I never got in trouble. I was a good kid. People loved me. I love people. Jake2213B writes, can you give a timeline where you worked or are still working? For me, you jump around. Also, where is Silver Dollar City? There used to be one in the Tennessee, but it's now called Dollywood. Well, Jake, let me try and lay it out for you a little bit because I don't think I have put it out there, which shame on me. Bad. I actually started working at Busch Gardens first. I was teaching full-time in Tampa, living just outside of Tampa. The school I was at was one of the inner city schools there, which was really stressful. And so I actually started working at Busch Gardens more as stress relief. Happened to get the Rhino Rally job, which was a lot of fun. And so I did pretty much Saturdays, except for holidays and summer where I would work full-time and fill those days in. Had to quit that because they cut down the part-timers. Wouldn't let people work only one day a week anymore. But I worked at Busch Gardens from about 2004 to 2006. We moved towards Orlando in 2006, and I got the job at Disney with PhotoPass pretty quick at that point, and worked there from 2006 to 2011 when I actually moved up to Missouri. The funny thing is, technically I was still a Disney employee through 2012 because I had gone on seasonal and could have gone down and still worked, but I never got back down to work again, so my status, turned into termination. It kind of stunk. But 2006 to 2011 was my official time at Disney. And then Silver Dollar City, I was there from 2012 to 2014. All 3 of those years. Caleb Williams says, do more of Silver Dollar City videos. Well, thanks for the suggestion, Caleb. There's actually some pretty good reasons why I don't do quite as many Silver Dollar City videos as I do the Disney ones. Disney's just more popular. I also spent 5 years at Disney versus only 3 years at Silver Dollar City. So there's just more stories from Disney to begin with. But there's also a lot more Disney fans than there are Silver Dollar City fans. Although, I hope that's increasing. By the way, if you don't know where Silver Dollar City is, it's in Branson, Missouri, in the middle of the Ozarks. It's a gorgeous, fun park. It's not as big as the Disney parks, but their Christmas and stuff, I'll put it against Disney any days. You gotta come check it out sometime. Layla Sylvia writes, how many exits or entrances are there in the utilidors? Thanks. Layla, this is an easy answer. A lot. Seriously, I don't know right off the top of my head, but if you use this thing called Google, which I'm sure you're familiar with, just do a Google search for utilidors map, and you'll pull up a full map that will show you every single tunnel around the Magic Kingdom. It'll also have every single stairway labeled, so you can find them real easy. There's also basically one big main entrance, which is where the cars can come in and out if they need to get them. But all the stairways are otherwise pretty much hidden. Even if you're walking around the park, you're not going to see the stairways because they're all hidden in backstage areas, with 2 that I know of that are front stage. But I don't want to give those away because I don't want to tempt people to go down them when they shouldn't. Just look for the map online. It's easy to find. Top of my head, I want to say there's like 20, 24, something like that. But I could be completely wrong. Larry Cathamer writes, what is your favorite place to take pictures in Disney World? Well, Larry, I've got a whole video of that. It's cool. No, seriously, if you want to know, I did do a video, but it talks about some of my favorite places to shoot as well as a couple of my least favorite. My overall favorite, though, I can tell you, at least the place I've got the most good memories, was Toontown, which isn't even there anymore. And in fact, I did another whole video on remembering my time working at Toontown. So those are the good places to check those out. They took out Toontown when they redid Fantasyland and expanded it, so it's long gone, which is kind of sad. I can also tell you, though, my least favorite place to shoot, that was Character Connection at Epcot, because we did what we called a hug and shove. It was just pushing people through as quick as they could go. And in the course of a 7-hour day, if you were there all day, you would shoot about 4,000 to 5,000 pictures. Your hand would be cramping by the end of the day. So, not the best place to meet characters, not the most fun to work. The whole opposite of that, though, was Toontown. Also loved working at Epcot, wandering the World Showcase, and most other places were a lot of fun, too. Jim Smith writes, based on viewing most of your vids, I assume you work for PhotoPass before they started the option where you get unlimited pictures for a set rate before you go. I know you said you would hear things if you took too many pictures of a certain guest. Was anything about your job based on the number of pictures you took that were actually paid for? Good question, Jim. No! Kodak, when they used to run the pictures in Disney, used to run quotas and things like that. When Disney took it over, they got rid of that. And so we got paid hourly regardless of how many pictures we took, how many pictures we sold. They encouraged us to hit certain numbers. They encouraged us to make sure the pictures sold. But we didn't have quotas per se. The other thing, too, is that they actually had the CD already ready to go before I started. So even when I started, you were able to buy all your pictures from all the parks. So the number of pictures I took wasn't a problem that way. It's just because I really liked taking pictures. And I would end up with about 10 to 12 pictures that all looked pretty similar because they were at the same moment. What I had to learn was to make sure that I captured each moment, each special memory, each encounter, but at the same time to not get multiples of the same kind of thing. You can only have so many pictures of a kid hugging on a princess and loving it. Otherwise, they start to blend together. It would overwhelm the customers, and they would look at it and say, well, I don't know which one to pick, so I don't want any of them. And that didn't work either. That's the only reason they got onto me a little bit to not take quite so many. But that was a rare criticism for the most part. Usually it was, okay, that's good, now let's make those better. Because that's what we were always striving to do. But yeah, the CDs were already there, the pre-sales were there. And if you ever go to Disney, buy the CD. It's more than worth it. McKenna writes, asking about Disney, since that's the park I know best, if you hadn't done the job you were assigned to do, and couldn't do that job, what is the short list of the ultimate jobs that you would have liked to have done? No limitations. No limitations? I like PhotoPass. Honestly, there are very few jobs I would have compared to it. There is one job, though, that I definitely would have liked to have had while I was there, but it was only a short-term job. And that was a job they created during the Year of a Million Dreams, when they had the prize squad go out and give people stuff. Their whole job was to make people happy. And maybe it's giving them a prize, maybe it's sharing ice cream, maybe it's just showing up and seeing what they could do to help people and, spontaneously entertain them. I thought that was the coolest job. So I would have loved that. I would have loved a job as a tour guide, but those are hard to get jobs. You've got to know your stuff for them. But I would have liked to have been a tour guide as well. Otherwise, ride operator. But PhotoPass for me was awesome. I loved PhotoPass. I honestly don't think it could have gotten too much better than that. David Hinshaw writes, great video series. Thanks, David. Here's my question. Is it possible to work seasonally in the Orlando theme parks? In a few years, I hope to retire and split time between home and there. Absolutely! But why wouldn't you want to work full-time? I mean, come on now. What's wrong with full-time? Yes, you can work seasonally. They're probably going to ask you to start at least part-time, which means scheduled for a few months, at least 2 days a week, to go through the training and get everything done. But after you have been on a regular status, either part-time or full-time for a few months, then they will let you change into what they call seasonal. When I was there, it meant that you had to work 40 hours a week at least every 6 months or 80 hours every year. They didn't care which way you did it, and they would keep you on seasonal status that way. I've heard it's changed, and I think now you've got to actually work every 6 months. I'm not positive on that, but they do have a position where they do allow people to work seasonally, because they know people move down during the winter, the snowbirds come in. They know that people come in for vacations and work, and so they do keep a lot of positions open like that. But I'm pretty sure you've got to be full-time or part-time first, and then transfer into that. But it is available. Check it out. You'll like it. I know a lot of people that did it. McKenna follows up with that as well. Is there a sort of college program for older folks, like young retirees? I know the job that I consider the ultimate choice for me, captaining a water taxi, might not be the right place for a temporary worker. McKenna, just like I said to David, seasonal's the way to go. Absolutely, they'll work with you. If you're going to be down there, though, for a year or two, I would suggest you don't even mention seasonal work to them. Just apply for the job, whether part-time or full-time, and stick with it for a while. Then when you start to realize, okay, maybe it's time to move or whatever, apply for the transfer at that point. But don't let them know ahead of time, because if they know that you're only going to be there for a little bit and then you want to take off right away, they're going to be less likely to hire you. No reason to offer it up front. But yes, they have a number of seasonal workers. When you've got 55,000 employees in the area, yeah, that's how many they've got. They have a lot of people that will come and go and transition in and out, and a lot of them they'll put on seasonal work. So look for that. Luke DeDute writes, hey, I really enjoyed your videos so far. They are really cool, but they've all been in the summer so far, so we haven't even hit the cold weather yet. Oh, wait, that's not what you meant. Sorry. Any case, did you have any favorite foods from any of the parks you worked at? I love barbecue. Silver Dollar City has a great barbecue place with barbecue ribs. It's actually probably the best barbecue at a park I've had, though Disney does have some really good food over the Hoop-De-Doo Review as well. And they've got ribs and chicken there. At least that's what they had when I was there. Chef Mickey's Dinner Buffet had prime rib as well. Oh my goodness, I love prime rib, and it was so good. They probably also had one of the best desserts I've had with their little cheesecake drops. It's a little cheesecake that's about that big around, and they'll put a Hershey's Kiss on it sometimes. Just wonderful. Gives you your cheesecake dose without having to get the huge amount of calories. Favorite snacks? Silver Dollar City has something that they call the tater twist, which is a potato that has been sliced thin into a spiral and deep fried, and then you can season it. That's great. You can even put it around a hot dog if you want the grease. Cookies and cream funnel cakes. Oh my goodness. Good stuff. Sugar Rush. Stroke. Cheese writes, Silver Dollar City has a lot of cast members in period clothing. That has to be hot in the summer. Don't you know it? Do they get to take extra breaks to cool off? Any fun stories of cast members adjusting the dress code for summer? McKenna adds on, is there anything you can wear under the costume to help you with the heat? Well, Silver Dollar City officially doesn't let you adjust the wardrobe. You just have to learn to deal with it. We had a couple ways of cheating on the train, which I actually talk about on that video right there. Not just Silver Dollar City, but also Disney and Busch, how we dealt with the heat, because you've got to learn to deal with it. At the train, we were able to cheat just a little bit. We could take our sleeves and roll them up past our elbow as long as we had garters to hold them, so that way it still looked like period theme. And we were allowed to ditch our vests during the summer once it hit 90 degrees or more. But otherwise, no, we weren't allowed to adjust the wardrobe at all. The robbers would slice up their sleeves and they would cut them short, so the robbers could get away with a little bit more. But the rest of you were pretty much stuck in the regular outfit. But there were tricks. And that video that I mentioned, it talks about some of the tricks and the different things that we did to try to keep cool while not looking quite so obvious to the guests that we were desperately trying to keep cool. So check that out. That's the easiest way to answer that one. Cheese writes, what can you tell us about the blacksmiths and glassblowers? And the Christmas lights. Dear God, the Christmas lights. Those must be a pain to maintain. Oh, yeah. Let me hit the second part of your question. I'll come back to the first. The Christmas lights, they actually have a team that works on those all year round. They start putting them up in the parks at the end of July. And they go all the way through to the end of October to get them all up and ready to go. They actually have a whole rotation program they use to make sure all the lights are working. They've all been checked, that none of them get too old. Certain spots actually have to put up their own lights. For example, the light team would put them up on the train depot, but our break room, which was down at the end of the loading platform, those we had to put the lights on, there and the fence that was nearby. So that we get some help somewhere. But the lights are a year-round project. But it's so worth it. If you've never seen Christmas at Silver Dollar City, you've got to come. As far as the blacksmith and the glass blowers, the guys that are doing that have been there for years. They know their stuff. When you buy the stuff in the shops, that's actually stuff that they make, a lot of it. They'll do it right there on the spot. Incredibly talented people, really nice guys too. Just ask them if you want to know something when you're there. They'll be happy to explain what they're doing, why they're doing it, how they do it, what it's going to accomplish, what they're working on. Wonderful people. So if you're at Silver Dollar City and you stop at the glassblower shop or the blacksmith, just talk to them. They'll be more than happy to talk to you and let you know what's going on. Great people. So again, thank you for all the questions. I hope you've enjoyed all the answers I came up with. Hope I answered them well for you. If I didn't, send me a Razzie and let me know. Feel free to keep adding your questions. I'd love to see them in the comments below. Like and share this. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done it already. Thanks so much.